Я подключаюсь, приезжаю на стройку. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Right.
No hole.
But it's a Chinese, right?
Well, there's no manufacturer's markings on this whatsoever. There's no numbers, there's no letters, there's no anything.
It's China.
Yeah.
Oh, like
So-
they say China.
Yeah. So it's got the polymer thing, but no wire cutter, no hole.
I was kind of hoping if somebody would bring some like this, because I mean I've seen them. They were in bright brown color too.
Mm-hmm.
And if you remember, well, I don't know if you remember now, those so-called Chinese SVDs came in that like case with all kinds of accessories in it.
Yeah.
And that thing was in it. And but I was kind of hoping that somebody would bring, because I definitely was going to talk about that.
Yeah. And I've got the old school.
Oh, and then another one. Yes, there you go.
With the rubber grip.
Yeah.
And then
yeah, I have that. But
the Bakelite.
yeah. What else you got?
Oh, and then I got the G.I. Joe stuff. This one here, I've had this since I was 18 years old.
Okay, hold on. Is that the M7 or which
Yep,
one? M5?
the M7 with the M8 aluminum bayonet or holster scabbard.
See, I got that. M7 with the M10 plastic.
The plastic M10 one, yeah. Yeah, this one, like I said, I've had this knife longer than any knife that I currently possess, because I got it when I was 18. I don't know where the green shoelace went. It got lost. I used to have the green shoelace on here, though.
Yeah.
I did. The leg tie. All right, let's kick it, brother.
Look, Paul, we're starting on time. Are you happy?
I am happy. I'm happy.
And I'm here finally, right on time.
I got grandkids inbound, so.
Little Ruthie coming?
Yeah.
Let's see if I can do
misses
something
me.
better here.
Ruthie misses me.
I'm sure she does.
You can put it up a little higher there? Yeah, that'll. Working on Markel lighting in his studio there. Yeah.
Makeup. No.
There's no amount that could help you.
No. I broke so many cameras by just sitting there.
All right, AK heads, welcome back to this October's edition of the Talking Lead AK Corner. And as promised, we're going to be talking bayonets this episode, ladies and gentlemen. Blades, pointy, sticky, stabby things. And I think everybody brought one, didn't you?
Oh, yeah.
Hold them up. Hold them up for our viewing audience.
Well, which one?
Whichever one's close. Look at Marco. Look at that. So this is hug your AK month also, Paul.
Oh, yeah, this is Hug Your AK month. October 18th is National Hug Your AK Day.
Very nice. So as you guys are hearing,
so that's coming up.
Is to prepare for that, and go on Instagrams and your social medias and take a picture of yourself hugging your AK and hashtag it. What is it?
Hug your AK.
Hug your AK.
Just hug your AK.
There you go. And then we should start a Hug Your Bayonet Day, huh?
Yeah, it's funny. We started that, and everyone's like,
Scabbard on
well, can I do the I don't have an AK, dude. My AR or my Garand. I'm like, it's Hug Your AK Day. I don't want to hear any crap. And this is the 12th one we've done. This is the 12th annual. So people have had time to get AKs. I don't, it's like
there's no excuse. I mean,
no excuse.
Could have saved, $500 a year, and they would have plenty to buy one now.
Yeah.
No excuses.
No excuses.
Oh, excuse me. So as you guys are listening to this, make sure you go back to our previous episode, which we had the great Jim Shockey join us. And he talks about his new book. You got it over here. It's called Hunter that he released. We talk about his amazing hunting and conservation career. And he's got a museum up there in Canada. Like artifact and whatnot. Artifacts museum. Pretty cool. So we talk about that. A lot of other things. So make sure you go back, check that episode out. I know you're going to enjoy it. For this episode, I got nothing but authors on the episode. Joining me is our consummate season 5 co-host, ladies and gentlemen. You love him, you know him, you wish you had a beard like him, Markel Vorobiev.
Hey, nice to be here again.
Everybody hold up your books.
Hold your book.
Everybody hold up the Bible.
Hold it up. We got it right here.
Yeah. This is the AK Korner official manual. The official manual for the AK Korner right here.
You do me much honor, I have to say.
You do us all an honor by sharing your wealth of knowledge each and every month, Marco. So thank you for joining us again.
Appreciate it. I'm glad to be here.
And this was kind of your idea, wasn't it, to do this episode on bayonets?
Yeah. Because remember, we touched on the subject of how everybody is stealing from each other type of deal, like adversaries. They find something in the battlefield and say, oh, shoot, we should do this. And the AK bayonet, and I guess AR bayonets, a good example of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was last month we talked about that.
Yeah. And then, of course, talking about bayonets, you cannot go into, you cannot fully kind of expand the subject matter without talking where it came from, what the philosophy behind it was, and so on and so on.
Absolutely. We're going to get into that. We're going to talk about all that. Also, joining us, who's only missed a couple episodes this month, is our good friend and my fellow podcaster, ladies and gentlemen, the pimp hand of America, Paul Markel.
That's right. That's right. No, I'm very happy to be here. And did Nick Orr have his new book out last month?
I don't think he had it during the episode, so it came out right after.
Oh, it was a teaser. Yeah. So Nick's new book is out. This is the Pipe Hitter's Guide to Long Range Rifles and Sniping. So
Very nice.
This is the fifth Pipe Hitter's Guide is out.
And we're still threatening to do an episode, but about Nick.
We need to do a book review. We need to get some people who have read the books and do a review. You've read them. I've read them. Who else in our, Marco read the small arms one.
I'm sure there's a few of our listeners, a lot of our listeners probably have read them also. So maybe we can get a listener perspective.
Well, I will definitely read the new one too.
Yeah, there you go.
Kind of in my realm.
Now, Paul, do you have a new book out too?
I have one that's in the process. It's being edited right now. Okay. So I don't want to say what it is, but it's being edited right now, and definitely by next month it'll be done.
Very cool. So we can talk about that next month.
Yeah, I passed it off to the smart people so they can find all the mistakes.
Yeah, I see you didn't send me one, so that's a lot. Yeah. Also joining us for the first time on the AK Corner. This is not his first time on the podcast, but first time on the AK Corner is our good friend from the Buck Knives world, ladies and gentlemen, Richard, call him Rich, Neyman, ladies and gentlemen. And
thank you.
You've seen me talk about this book before. I don't have the bayonet book, so hold up the bayonet book. So Rich has written the definitive book on the M9 bayonet. So it's just as thick and as good as he did on the Buckmaster knife. So welcome in, Rich.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm definitely outclassed with these two gentlemen.
No, no, I'm a low. I'm low life. So
I've listened to both of you with Lefty, and you guys are amazing. So I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
We appreciate you taking the time to be on.
I'm glad to make your acquaintance, Rich.
Thank you, sir.
And
Yeah.
I'm kind of hoping that because I was preparing for this episode, and obviously I was going to highlight the M9 and talk about it, but I would love to hear what you have to say.
Thank you.
Whiskey River Beef, farm to table with a twist. Come along with us on a quest towards achieving self-sufficiency in food production and fostering a robust local food source to promote good health. Stock up with premium Tennessee beef, unparalleled in flavor and tenderness. You can be confident that you're receiving beef with no added growth hormones or implants. Always pasture raised, locally USDA processed, and shipped straight to your home. Whiskey River Beef is grass and whiskey mash fed and finished, and is at least 14 days dry aged to enhance the tenderness and give you the most robust flavor imaginable. Go to whiskeyriverbeef.com today to order. Visit us on Instagram at Whiskey River Life and on Facebook at Whiskey River Beef LLC. Whiskey River Beef is a proud sponsor of the Talking Lead podcast and the Leadhead Brigade.
So I'm getting my next piece that we're going to talk about here. So in an upcoming episode, just to go ahead and spoiler alert here, you guys again have heard us talk about this, and you heard us talk about the new one that's been in development with Rich and Commander Coulter and CJ of the new Buckmaster. Well, it is out. And I've talked about it briefly, but we're going to do a full show with Rich and Commander and CJ coming up.
Like CJ?
CJ Buck? Yeah.
Oh, no, CJ Johnson.
No.
A different CJ.
Why would CJ know anything about this? So, something to look forward to, ladies and gentlemen. And we probably have to do like a 2-part episode on that one. It's going to be a good one. Got a lot of information to disseminate, don't we, Rich?
Yes, sir. Yep. A lot of history.
A lot of history. So let's get into this episode. Speaking of a lot of history, so the bayonet, it goes back to close to what, the 14th century?
No, not quite.
Yeah.
It goes to 1500s, so 16th century, when the appearance of firearms on the battlefield becoming prominent and prevalent.
Yeah.
And I mean,
similar thing, but they weren't guns. They weren't on guns. So the bayonet is specifically
what happens was, so those early fusils and muskets and stuff, it was it takes a long, after you fire the initial volley, it took a long time for the rifle, the firearms to be reloaded. And they were protected, while they were doing it, they were protected by pikers, right? So it's sort of like a short spear that low-grade soldiers would be then step forward and keeping the enemy at bay, so to speak, with the pikes. And then while the fusiliers are reloading their big old massive fusils, I guess the best way to describe the guns. And I don't know if you can even call them a musket at the time. I mean, I think they call them fusils.
For our listeners to get an idea what we're talking about here.
Right.
But as you're talking about it, but go ahead.
So then as more and more firearms kind of appeared on the battlefield, it was an idea to attach a sword, because most of the soldiers at the time, or foot soldiers, were equipped with the short swords. And that's how they came to be, and mainly to defend themselves against a range the foot soldiers into a squares, anti-cavalry squares, called carré. So this way they can protect themselves from the cavalry charges. So, and as we progress, the use of bayonet or a sword on the firearm became more and more prevalent and more of a main battlefield weapon, believe it or not, because you're firing 1 or 2 volleys and then you charge. And when you charge, it's not like you have a machine gun in your hand or any kind of semi-automatic gun or even a bolt gun or repeating rifle.
Right.
So then it comes to use of a bayonet. As a matter of fact, in the 18th century, a famous Russian general who never lost a battle and who pretty much, with a couple divisions, liberated the entire southern Europe and stuff and helped them to build nations, including northern Italy, was Alexander Suvorov, and he's written a book called Science to Win, or Science of Victory. And as a matter of fact,
Which country is from
Russia.
From Russia, okay.
And he was, as a matter of fact, General Patton even quoted him every now and then. And he is the guy who coined a phrase saying, bullet is a fool, but bayonet is great. And right in the onset of Napoleonic Wars, where bayonets were prevalent weapon. I mean, artillery, of course, the quick cavalry charges, but as far as the foot soldier is concerned, infantry, the bayonets were a main weapon. Yeah. And you could read in some of the recollections of some of the soldiers and stuff, and they would always refer to gleaming, the bayonets were gleaming, and that's what gave the enemy the scare and stuff, or like our charge with the bayonets is what turned the battle around, and so on and so on.
Yeah, and you read that in some of the history is that the bayonet itself wasn't used a whole lot itself to inflict damage or wound, but it was more of a morale depleter, kind of thing. So when a big army would charge with their bayonets, typically the other side would just retreat.
Yeah, I mean, even today, if somebody is facing somebody with a knife, I mean, there's a reason why, let's say, so many incidents where a police actually shooting a guy who's wielding a knife. The knife is something, understand, you're around knives all the time ever since you're a little baby, and if you touch it wrong, you will cut yourself, and it would hurt, and it would bleed and stuff. And that effect was obviously, if you have a wall of people coming at you with the knives and stuff, that's different. Because in the early days, especially when those muskets were not really what you call a precision weapon, they were, I mean, you would stand there in a line, and maybe 1 or 2 guys after a valley, enemy valley, would fall down, and you would know what happened there. But when the wall of people advancing at you with the bayonets gleaming, that's a different story. Yeah. So
shock and awe.
Yeah, shock and awe, yeah, original one. So, and that's how the bayonets kind of came to be. And today, although they still issued to the troops, but I mean, with sidearm at your side or fighting knives at your side and stuff. And even if the enemy gets close to the point where it's a hand-to-hand combat, I mean, you probably will not be going bayonet on bayonet anymore, especially like the shorter weapons like, M4, even not AK, and some of those, what do you call them? Bullpups, even worse. What I mean?
Here, I got my favorite one, Marco. Remember in the mid Cold War when everybody was coming out with submachine guns, right? The Uzis and they were equipping them all with bayonets.
Yeah.
The most ridiculous thing, putting a bayonet on a submachine gun.
What the hell?
Somebody,
and,
yeah, and the Uzi, right? What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Somebody years ago, did it as a gig, but it turned out to be a popular
pistol.
thing.
The pistol bayonet.
Yeah, pistol bayonets. I think it was a laser light or somebody did
Yeah.
them and promote them. That was hilarious. And they would come to like our round tables and pass them around and just laughing.
On the pistol the musket pistols, whatever they're called. I've seen bayonets on those.
Oh yeah, the one that would
they
unfold. Yeah, it
yeah,
had a brass
long,
knuckle handle and they had a folding bayonet.
Yeah.
But that's not military. It's more like if you got caught cheating at the poker game, you had to defend yourself.
Pirates, when they would, raid ships and stuff.
Yeah.
Or something like that. But in any case, as a military weapon, I mean, it lost its appeal, and I guess.
Can I offer a modern perspective? The bayonet is still. It's funny that you said that, Marco, because we just had Sonny Pazikas on yesterday on our show, and he used that quote. He said, "The bullet is a fool, and the bayonet is a soldier," and that was. It was amazing that 2 days in a row I had somebody say that to me.
Famous quote. You can, like General Patton, he used to use this phrase saying, "You bleed less. If you sweat more, you bleed less."
Right.
He was paraphrasing Suvorov, who was saying, "Hard in training, easy in combat." Type of deal. So the guy, you can pick him sort of like Sun Tzu with the Art of War. You can pick him in quotes, so to speak, right? And it's the same with Suvorov. And I mean, he took fortresses that were deemed to be untakeable, like Ismail, for example. He took it in less than a month. And he crossed the freaking Alps with artillery and cavalry to get into Austrians' rear. He did all kinds of stuff, and he did it with the small force. That's another one. I mean, he knew how to apply a small force. He also developed the technique moving at night, quiet marches and stuff, and then appear there in the battlefield unexpected in the morning type of deal. He was a freaking genius, and he would not take crap from the czars, from Russian czars and stuff. He would pretend he would have a diary if like Paul, for example, Catherine's son, was saying some nonsense. He would just say, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I gotta go. I got a terrible stomach ache." He would even fall down and crawl out in the palace. He was that kind of good. And of course, he would catch a lot of crap. Like, they would send how they would remove you from the court. So you're not welcome in the capital city or whatever. Yeah. And he goes, "I don't care." And he goes back. And what he did was, since he was a count, what he did was every time his soldiers that served with him in campaigns would retire, he would have a home for them on his estate, like do whatever, like be the groom or something for the horses, or be this and that and that. So he took care of the retirees that been with him through thick and thin. And great guy in the history if you read about him. He was born sickly, and through his exercises and kind of diving into the ice holes and stuff and doing this and this, he kind of turned out to be, a great strategist and tactician.
What was his name?
And his rank, military rank, there's only a handful of those. His name is Alexander Suvorov.
Suvorov, okay.
And he defeated Napoleon early on in the end of 18th century, and Napoleon's marshals, whatever, how many, 2 or 3 of them, that he never lost a battle. in his life, never, which is amazing. And all these nations like Bulgaria, Romania, all this Macedonia, Montenegro, a bunch, and part of Italy, all him their stateship, because he beat Ottoman Empire from here to high heaven,
Mhm.
But anyway, so back to bayonets. So the bayonets were stabbing weapon to begin with, although probably initially it was a sword blade attached to a musket, and then it was a stabbing weapon, which was like more of a pike, right? A triangular, or just sort of like a
Spike, like spike.
A socket. Yeah.
There.
like a four-sided. These things, I think, if you give, I think they like outlawed by Geneva Convention or something, because it makes that kind of puncture wound doesn't heal well. Soviets never signed the Geneva Convention, so they continued to use those through the World War II and a little past it. But development of the blade was all okay. So you needed the pike, right? You needed to stab at the cavalry and stuff and defend yourself and your lines. And so they were they were pretty long.
Yeah.
And they stayed like this, as far as the length is concerned, all through this history until turn of 20th century.
The thought behind that again was, like you said, for cavalry, and then so that you could get to the opponent before they could get to you. So you'd have a
exactly. And the training, the bayonet training, has been a part of military training. Even I was trained on bayonet fighting, and it was I don't know when it stopped at the in the U.S. I'm not sure about it. I think it's recent event, maybe probably 80s. Maybe they stopped teaching soldiers with the bayonets, although they continue to issue like a M9 and the M7 before that. But the legitimate training, I think, is no longer performed. And but anyway, in any case, so then as we went through the history, then we see that the swords returned, meaning legitimate swords, like meaning the actual fighting weapon. Like this one, it's the English bayonet for number 1 Mark III. Okay, and this thing right here is nothing less than a freaking sword. I mean, you can
16 inch.
World War I, World War II.
Correct.
18. It's probably 18. Is it an Enfield? Would that go on an
it's
Enfield?
the Enfield, but it's made. I don't know who it's made by. There's a bunch of crowns and stuff here, and some weird. And I think it's made in 1907 or 18. I'm sorry, 1918.
Hold it up.
A leather scabbard.
Leather. Wow.
Yeah. So
hold the markings up you were looking at. Let's see those. Kind of tilt it. There you go. Yeah, I still can't see them. You gotta work on your lighting.
Anyway, it's like cross and a bunch of those acceptance stamps with the crown and stuff. So yeah. U.S. had the 1903 bayonet, right? And it was, correct me if I'm wrong, 16-incher?
16 or 18.
Rich, you're muted, so unmute yourself there. You were wrestling papers, so I muted you.
Yep, I'm done.
So here's one. Here's
right.
one already shortened version, which is like what, 14-inch. And by the way, this one's seen some action, and I was just shown earlier. You can see the spots on it.
Yeah, got a little blood on, a little blood stain.
Yep.
It's been broken in.
Yep, just barely.
Is there a story behind that one?
No, it just I picked it up in one of the swamp meets by accident, and I didn't think the guy knew what he had. So, all right. So although they, other than British, which is if you look at this tip,
What's your elbow?
darn it, United States Marine Corps cupboard. It's hooked up on my thing. You look, it's more of like a kind of knifey blade, right? So it's got
A little higher.
no, the all you look for. I'm talking about the tip of it.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so it's kind of got the legitimate belly, so to speak, right? And then, but when you look at, let's say 1903, it's more of a spear point, right? Like a dagger.
Yeah.
And it continued to be such all through the up until the U.S. adopted the M9, right? So in 1986, if I'm not mistaken, Rich.
Actually, they say that, but that's incorrect. It was actually 97 officially.
Oh, okay.
They were working on it since 94. In fact, that's actually when Doug Olson stumbled on the document that a U.S. Army general was pissed off that the Russians have a really nice bayonet and we haven't upgraded ours. And to be fair, he didn't say it was actually really nice. He just said a bayonet, more modern bayonet. So
Well,
that's
yeah. So more like a multi-functioning thing rather than just a stabbing weapon.
100%. So that's the biggest difference I would say about all the bayonets that we're talking about now to when you fast forward to the 80s to the Buck made Phrobis M9 bayonet. It was a multi-purpose tool is what they actually called it.
Right. So anyway, and it continued. So here is a M1 Garand, right? It's a, what is it? M5. So it's got kind of the same dagger type tip. So is the M7, M7, the original M16 bayonet. It's almost, the blade is almost identical, right? So then if you go to other nations other than US, so let's say you go to Germany during World War II, here's a K98 bayonet. And it is also spear point, right? Now, if you go to Russia, other than M9130s, most of the guns, which still retain that a pig sticker, which, by the way, most of the soldiers in like a regular line units and rifles, regiments and stuff, they just kept them on. And because of that, 9130 was actually sighted with the bayonet attached. Okay, so, and it's it came from the side, right? So, and from on the right side. So if you would remove it, so obviously you would have to, you have to make holdover adjustments.
It's a bitch to get off once it's on there tight. It's
got this plunger,
Yeah.
Little.
Let's go back a little bit. Let's talk about the different ways that they were attached, because originally they were plugs and they just went right into the barrel.
Right. And then, of course, they realized that that's no good because it renders your weapon useless. It turns it effectively into a pike.
Well,
and
let's talk about why they did that, though, because the bayonet, I mean, it was kind of like your last resort kind of deal. You're either out of ammo or it's gotten to the close quarter combat at that point. So that's
not really though. Because remember in those days you fire one shot, maybe two, and then it would be the enemy would be advancing and you will be advancing, and then eventually you'll come to a bayonet slugfest.
Right.
But so it wasn't really last resort. It was actually your main weapon to route
the British regulars were famous for the use of the bayonet. And
Yeah.
so much so that if you know about the Bannister Tarleton, he actually at one during it was the Battle of Kings Mountain, or no, it wasn't Kings Mountain, but it was one of them where he ordered his troops to remove the flints from their
Yeah, I heard about
brown
that.
vests, and so that nobody would fire a shot. They would only have the option of stabbing the enemy to death,
Yeah.
and
That's
they were
right.
extremely effective, and it was terrifying.
And they were, the British officers would give a command, give them a sword. Like if they see there's a stalemate in the way of them just kind of exchanging the pot shots, they would say, all right, it's time to give them a sword. And which means attach the swords and affix the swords and go and poke a few bellies with it. And so it was the main weapon. The bayonet was the main weapon at that time until the onset of the repeating firearms, the ones that you can actually shoot repeatedly at the somewhat fast rate of fire. Now, this is a Russian bayonet from World War II. This is a Tokarev, SVT-40 Tokarev bayonet. And if we look at the spear, again, it has a spearhead, just like a Mauser. But the Russian bayonet, this particular one, stands apart from everything else that I've just shown, the German, the American, the English, and the way it mounts with the edge up. Okay, so it's a single edge, sharpened edge up. Whereas, let's say you take the Mauser bayonet, it mounts with the sharp edge down. Okay, and so is the M1 Garand, so is the 1903. All of them mount with the edge, sharpened edge down, but in this case, you also got the little sharpened edge up top. The reason why Russians did it is because if you have that stabbing motion when you're being trained on bayonet, right, and that's literally, I mean, first of all, when the body would react, the human body reacts, the muscles tense and it's hard to pull out, right? So you trained stabbing, penetrating through all that gear, the leather, possibly leather. Yeah, there you go. The AK bayonet's always mounted with the edge up. And what happens is it's sort of like if you would imagine, right? Here's the bayonet going into the enemy's body. Mm-hmm. Right? Your natural movement would be to pull it up this way. And the edge would slice through whatever you got there in the way. Instead of pulling it with the thicker, the spine of it, right, which doesn't cut anything. So you're going to have to redirect and pull it the other way.
Natural is the thrust is up.
Right, and pull it up. So anyway, so that's the difference. And then that difference actually went and kind of transcended through the times. And like Paul was showing the type 2 bayonet, and it was mounted on the AK, and then it's mounted blade up, like so. Whereas M9 bayonet that was shamelessly copied from the Russians still mounts with the blade down.
Introducing our new belly band holster. Whether you're hitting the gym or running a quick errand, our belly band is one of the most comfortable and safest ways to carry your firearm. The center section allows you to carry most common pistols. Left or right-handed, this has you covered. A hard laminate trigger shield protects the firearm's trigger from unwanted intrusion, giving you ease of mind while carrying every day. 2 elastic sleeves give you the flexibility to carry other everyday items, such as spare mags, flashlight, knife, or pepper spray. 2 zippered pockets run on both sides, offering the option to carry smaller items such as money, cards, or keys. Flush fit on your lower back or waist, easily keeping your setup discreet no matter how you choose to carry. Utilizing 3D spacer mesh, these channels allow for exceptional and efficient airflow, giving you maximum comfort and keeping you cool. Carry whenever you want, how you want, with our new belly band holster. Available now.
I can tell you why that is.
Okay.
Because and going back to, can I touch on here? I don't know when we stopped teaching bayonets. Well, let me tell you what, when I was in the Marine Corps in the 80s, in the 90s, they still taught bayonets.
Oh, okay.
We still did bayonet training.
Yeah.
And I believe the Marine Corps itself still conducts bayonet training. I would be sad to find out that they didn't. But there was 5 attacks that you were taught with a bayonet mounted rifle. There were 5 attacks. There was the stab, and then there was the slash, and they would teach you to come up and down and slash. That is why the belly is up. You know, the standard bayonet is just, I hold it at my waist level and I advance at the enemy and I poke, 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 right? But in the Marine Corps, and I'm sure the Marine Corps, the Army did the same thing the Marine Corps used to do, was they had that slashing motion. And so if they were to reverse it, the slashing motion would basically be a moot point. So I'm sure that design keeps with the way that they had been training. And they probably have been training like that since they put edges on the bayonets for hundreds of years. It
makes sense, although, you know, one could argue saying, okay, if the person has the same thing, you know, charging at you the same way, so the slashing motion would be easy to defend against by just, you know, blocking it and so on, rather than straightforward poking, stabbing motion.
Right, but I mean, you'd poke and slash, and then they would do your butt stroke, you know. Right. And that's why they put steel. There's 2 reasons they put steel butt plates on military rifles: to keep the privates from breaking them and to smash skulls open.
Yes, that's true. And also bust through the doors and smash the locks and all that stuff, all that good stuff. But anyway, so continue on. So we got to the point where bayonets starting to look more like knives, right? They're shorter. M1 Garand is pretty much a modern length bayonet, right? And the blade, like Paul was saying, this is the one that he had as a young kid and loved this knife, go hunting and everything with it. I mean, it's sharpened. Look at that blade. I mean, it's great. And so it's carried on to M16s in Vietnam and whatnot when they carried the M7s and stuff. And now here comes the Russians, right? During the last year of war, they came up with this great rifle, right? So that's the SKS. Yep. But it was kind of dead on arrival because AK was already being developed. And SKS had this stabbing thing again. Not edged at all. It's not sharpened and whatnot, but it's a stabber, right? There's nothing here, slash or no slash. It's just a poking straight through the uniform and through the body. And the very first AK bayonet had a kind of similar blade, but longer. And it was not foldable. That's Chinese invention that goes back to the 60s. But it was detachable, but it wasn't really, it's not a knife. It's really becoming something, piece of equipment that you carry, like this thing, or like this British number 4 thingy. This thing is just... Huh. It's like a poker.
Like a jet tail.
Yeah. but it's lighter, it's easy to attach, it's easy to kind of carry in this tube on your belt.
Yeah.
That's kind of weird. And anyway, so it becomes this useless thing that's one more thing you have to carry on you and bring it with you. Now comes the, a few people got together and they said, why don't we make a knife bayonet? And this way we have to issue it to everyone, and everyone carries it as a knife if they have to have a knife, if they have to fight, hand-to-hand combat, and also a bayonet. And that's where this, Paul, you have that type 1 with the metal scabbard.
So they're becoming
Oh, this one, yeah, the type 1.
more multi-use is what they're becoming.
Right. So that became the first iteration. Then this looks like a Romanian or something because the leather frog.
Yeah, it's got a leather frog, but it's got the nylon strap.
Right,
I've got one
right.
with leather that's 100% leather and one with nylon.
Yeah, the Russians always had that little suspension system. And the reason for that is because it's so easy. It just dangles on you. It's sort of like a Finnish puukko knives. They just dangle there, and then you sit down anywhere, you walk through anything, touch anything, it just kind of swings out of the way, and you don't have to. So it's a kind of easy suspension type of deal. And
You got
so,
a Bakelite one there, don't you?
what's that?
That one's Bakelite, the one you have.
Right. So this is a type 3. So Paul is holding a type 1. Then there was a transitional model which actually had the square cap right on the back, and but it still had a metal scabbard with the rubber sleeve. And reason for that is because it did become a multi-tool, and I explained. So obviously, yeah, like that. Obviously, we see a few things on this blade. So we have the saw, right? And we have that hole in it.
Yeah.
So what happens is this particular hole, you got a certain shape tip of your scabbard, right? And you got the little
it's up there, Paul. We can see Paul's. Hold it up. Yeah.
So, and then you just marry the two, and you got yourself a wire cutter, right?
Yeah. So now they've implemented the scabbard as part of the
right
of tools.
And now see the reason for the rubber grip on the metal scabbard was to cut the wire that's actually electrical wire. And right here they made the entire scabbard out of Bakelite.
Yeah.
And that's it. But here's another thing.
Insulated. They insulated the
right.
Exactly.
And the knife.
Then you take and you go like so. And then you got yourself a pick, or you got yourself a hammer.
Yeah, and you inserted the is that the bevel? What is that called?
The barrel ring.
The bayonet ring, barrel ring.
Into the scabbard.
Into the scabbard.
Itself. And then you've got
it becomes a hammer.
Hammer from the
pick.
Or a pick from the blade. Okay. I did not know that. That's cool.
All right. So then then Vietnam happens. And respective parties capture each other's bayonets. Right? So the Vietnamese capture some of the M7s and send them to the Soviets, give them to advisors, and then of course the American GIs, they captured some of the Soviet supplied AK bayonets, and like we discussed before, both parties go at it. Russians come up with the AK-74 in 1974, and this is the original AK-74s were issued with the Type 3 with Bakelite, knife-like bayonet. And it's literally, from now on, it's called a knife bayonet. It's not just called bayonet, it's called knife bayonet.
Okay.
And then they came, so then once they start dressing their AK-74s in the 80s, in the early 80s, into the plum guys, I guess, or furniture. They come up with this bayonet right here, and it's, as you can tell, it's different. It's a lot different.
Yeah.
First of all, the handle is thinner and it's got grooves on it, so it's with the gloved hand that you know in Russia you got to use gloves for like 6 months out of the year, so it's easy to handle. And look at the blade.
Oh wow.
Spear point.
Spear point, and it's so it's still retained one edge.
The one side has an edge though, still, right?
Just one side, and then you still got the saw, which is a little bit more of a saw than it was on the other one. The other one was more of a file.
Yeah, it's more aggressive on this.
And just a saw. And of course, it retained its wire cutting capability because it was still an issue. Right. But it's a spear point now, right? So what do Americans do? They come up with the M9 slightly later, right? So now, right, look at this blade, right? And but I'm pretty sure that's as always Russians stole this design from M9. I'm pretty sure.
Rich, unmute yourself. Rich, you're muted.
All right.
Sorry.
So the saw on the back, the wire cutter, the blade, but the difference is, look at the width of the blade, the thickness of a blade. This is
the M9's thicker.
Much thicker, much wider. Can it be used as a knife per se? Yeah, I guess I suppose you can, but not as much as this one, because this is more of like a Bowie. I mean, look at the similarities, for example, with the Mark III Navy fighting knife, right?
It's got that exaggerated swoop at the tip of the blade there.
And it's got the saw and everything. The only thing that's missing is that hole. Yeah. Pretty much. So, would it make it a good fighting knife? I mean, the round handle, that's usually no, because it would you would not know how to index your edge and stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know what they tried to say by that. Probably Rich can comment.
Do you know why they did that?
Why they went with the round handle?
Yeah.
Not specifically. There was a whole bunch of different handle shapes, and this roundish handle led for more people's hands. So you could have guys with smaller hands or bigger hands, and they all fit this, you know. Also, it was a way for them. The handle, actually, the shape of the handle, the little, you know, grounds and everything in it mimic the old Buckmaster. So because they made the M9 bayonet based off the Buckmaster. So if you look, yeah, see, there's another one. But at least the Americans use this a lot as a multi-purpose, specifically even just a knife. I had a lot of friends that were in the first Gulf, and they used to use this. They loved it just as a knife.
No.
So, yeah, that was.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt as a knife per se, right? It's a huge improvement, even to compare to the M7 and stuff. And
another big thing, Marco, not to cut you off, sir, is you know, with the wire cutter. Now it's kind of difficult to do this upside down for me, but with the American wire cutter that was designed here. They purposely made it so you could cut wire with just these two parts. The original ones that they were competing against that the Russians were making, you had to use the full gun. So you had to leverage the full AK with that's funny. It was difficult.
Just anybody will tell you this stuff. Rich,
Uh-huh.
just tell them that you're gonna curse their eyes. No,
I will. Well, coming from a Spetsnaz, we
right,
can say that, right?
right.
But the big
No,
thing
it's
was
not.
the ease of cutting was a lot easier with this knife compared to the AKs at the time, and the bayonets, the Russian bayonets at the time. I know that for sure. I've seen all the tests, but it's just
Well, anyway.
yeah. Anyway,
No,
anywho,
it's more of a multi. So you got a little screwdriver right here.
Yeah.
And you got a little on yours. The one you
Yeah.
showed had a little pocket for a sharpening stone, but on the newer ones, they had. Oh, it did have that.
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay.
What this pocket was, it was actually for it was for a magazine, and originally they designed it to fit a Buck Model 110 and a Beretta at the time, a Beretta magazine. So that
Okay,
was
cool. But anyway, so they start doing this, and we'll return to it in a second. So this is a sharpening stone. And on this particular scabbard, and I don't know, you got the same one? You
yeah,
had this loops right here? Yeah, to
yes,
like
sir. Yeah.
leg strap. So huge improvement, but yet, if you take this and weigh it, I mean, it's huge.
Heavy.
I mean, it almost weighs
It's
like,
heavy.
it feels like twice
It's
as
a
much, and even compared to the Soviet one, it
they're digging holes with
weighs
those
a lot.
plates and all kinds
And
of
me,
stuff.
I can tell you this, pumping all that shit up and down the mountains, you know, with the weight, you trying to cut as much as you can. So, moving on. In 90s, right? So the 100 series of AK comes out, right? And now it's no longer plum clad, it's black, right? So they come up with the new black bayonets. I forgot to mention that there's no longer, although you can't even insert the ring in anymore.
Oh, they took
It's
that.
no longer the hammer. And if you want to use it as a pick, use it as a pick because this is more of like it's a spear. So, and
Let me ask you this, Marco. Why did they do plum?
okay.
That's plum color.
Okay. Some people say, and every time they say it, and I'm laughing at it, they say the Russians couldn't come up with the black plastic. I don't know. Russians flew a freaking space up into space. They built a freaking space station. They couldn't come up with the black mixture. The reason why the orange bakelite was chosen is because at the time the strong polymers were not well developed at the time, and then they chose this, and also to match the AK furniture, right, which was made of laminate, kind of reddish lacquered furniture. And if you take, let's say you take M4 and you take a AKM, right, and you go into against any kind of like live fence or any kind of brush or something, you put two of them right there, and then you bring somebody up and ask to point out the two guns leaning against the bush. They'll find M4 first every time because black doesn't exist. A true black does not exist in nature. It's always the shade. And orange and brown is the natural colors in nature. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and say that they use plum just not to use black.
They thought
they start
better.
What's that?
You think so? It's better camo. The plum.
I'm thinking it's like keeping up with that tradition, but in any case,
okay.
The black came out because it was at the time Izhmash, the manufacturer of AKs, they were looking for other markets. The Soviet Union just disintegrated. Russia was in a poor shape, and there were no orders from all these arsenals, and so they were looking at the commercial sales, and the commercial market was outside of the borders of Russia. And so they made the AK in 101 and 102 in 5.56 and trying to peddle it around the world, which they successfully did. And then, of course, they decided to just go all the way across with the black. But now, yeah, there you go. So unfortunately, I don't have the type. I don't have the original AK-47, which is up top, the first three of them. And as you can see, the blade is identical to that of SKS.
Yeah.
Right. And then, of course, you're missing the one that's, well, Paul has the one with the metal scabbard and a rubber insulator, and then transitional model. And I don't know what that freaking thing is on the bottom.
This one?
Yeah, I don't even know what that is.
It is. Let's see if it tells up here.
Oh, I know what that is. I know what that is. That's the, you know, when Bulgarians started to make their own stuff, they made that sort of hybrid
Flip-on kind of thing.
milled receiver gun.
Yeah.
Tried to modernize it, and I think that's what that is. It's basically the same setup as the top three. If you can see those.
Yeah, that right there.
And yeah, but for a more modern dressed,
Right.
as a modern. So and one more, I'm done. So I'm hogging this time here, and I feel terrible.
Don't, you're wonderful.
I can
This is
tell.
Really, yeah, good information here.
All right, well, here's one that's made out of unobtainium, right? So AK-12 was adopted as a main battle rifle for Russian military recently. And, you know, it's got a few improvements and stuff over the 74, still fires the same round. But the new bayonet came out. I have here in my hand, I have the civilian version of it, meaning it also issued to like tankers and people that don't expect to go into, you know, bayonet charges. But here's the new AK bayonet.
So this is like 2023, huh?
More like 2021.
But that's
20.
They're still
So-
issuing it now.
And now, okay, few things. Again, it's remains a multi-tool. So instead of doing the blade and scabbard, they now got the actual wire cutter.
Ah, look at there, built into the scabbard.
Right. And
Nice.
see this?
Sharpener,
Stone.
Well, it's a
Whetstone.
diamond plate.
diamond plate. Yeah.
Diamond, yep.
And then when you take it out, this is more of a fighting knife, right? The blade. So it's got thick spine. It's got sharpened top of the spine, and then you got the like it looks like Scandinavian grind. A couple bolts. It's really light, rubberized handle, so you can easily index it, and it's got the window buster, or glass buster, right?
Let me
Yeah.
show us the handguard on the knife.
Handguard.
The handle.
The handle,
handle.
top of the handle, whatever that thing's called. So it's not very aggressive there. It's just a little bump to keep your fingers from going up on the blade.
But the attachment point is the exact same as the originals.
Yeah, exactly. It would attach an AK-74. So yeah, I don't have the ring right here, right? And I don't have a mechanism. But other than that, it will attach to.
So they remove the ring and the mechanism and sell it as a fighting knife.
And also they issue it to like, you know, tankers and artillery crews and non-infantry guys.
And what's
Okay.
the model number on that?
What's that?
What's it called? What's the name?
It's called the Campo. knife. Campo. Kampo. That's a company that's been building the knives for like a Russian equivalent of Navy SEALs for divers and stuff. And then they got the contract for the bayonets. So it comes fully, it comes fully, it's got like a Cardura case, which is a camo case with the moly attachment, so you can put it anywhere you want. And it comes with the leather shit, like a very similar to Puko knives, like with the dangler. And also like a straps to your leg if you want to strap it somewhere. So
now does
that's
it also, but you're saying that one doesn't have it, but they have the attachment, so it will go on the rifle?
on the rifle, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Very
So
cool.
that's this, but let's talk about the actual second second purpose of a bayonet, right, or bayonet knife, and that is a fighting knife, an infantry fighting knife. I mean, you're going into trenches, you go into the extreme close combat, and you gotta have a weapon.
Now hold
that
on one
can
second.
defend yourself.
Paul and Rich, if y'all have things to say, just talk.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
I just
when
want.
I stop, and then
Hey,
you guys go.
Marco, I want to hit on one thing with their new wire cutter that's on the scabbard. That an idea like that was actually originally with the M9 bayonet with the first submission, but it was too heavy, so they got rid of that, and then they went back to this idea,
Which
but,
makes perfect sense.
yeah. But it was when I saw that, I was like, oh my goodness. Doug Olson's the guy who was really, really big into doing wire cutters. Matter of fact, when we were doing development of the latest Buckmaster 2.0 Combat Diver, he wanted to put a wire cutter on the knife. That's how much he loved doing the wire cutters. But when I saw that, even the hook on it, it's amazing. But they made a set, about 10 of them or so for the SEALs. And then they used that idea and went even further with the M9 bayonet. That it was actually the XM9 number 29 to be exact number that had the scabbard with the wire cutter on is just really cool. But when I saw that, I was just like, I thought that was neat.
That is cool. I like it. Yeah.
So just to give you an idea of where this guy's got the idea. So during the Soviet times, the special forces like Spetsnaz was armed with two knives, right? One was just a knife. It was called NR1, and then there was NRS1, and the difference between the two were NR stands for like a Russian abbreviation for scout knife, just for the scouts or reconnaissance guys, like let's say reconnaissance knife. And the difference why the other one was called S is for shooting. It was silent shooting knife that actually fired out of the butt of it.
Oh
right?
yeah, I've seen
The ballistic knife.
Yeah.
It's not a ballistic knife. Ballistic knife shoots the blade. This one actually fired the bullet, the 7.62
Oh,
bullet.
Oh, I've
that was,
seen pictures of that before.
Right.
Yeah.
It was it's like a plunger inside the casing, so it's natural. It's actually a silenced ammo that it fired, so you didn't need the silencer, right?
It shoot out of the
subsonic.
Subsonic.
Well, it's so picture casing without the bullet, right? And the bullet is inside here, and what propels the bullet is this piston that is here. So when a piston moves forward and hits the round and sends it out, it also blocks it at the neck point and retains all the gases inside. So you don't hear the explosion.
And what caliber was that they were shooting?
7.62.
Okay.
Really? Wow.
So
Nice.
it fired that thing. And of course, I don't know if practical use of it was even, I mean,
Looks good
how
in the
practical
movies.
it was, but nevertheless,
Yeah.
in the movies and in the advertisement videos or things like that. But their scabbard, both shooting and non-shooting version, came with this thing.
So, Marco, do you still have your ballistic knife that you were issued?
No, but I have certain things. that I was
I've seen
issued.
things.
But I do have a knife that I was actually issued. If you want to see that, I'll show it to you.
Well, I was just curious because I have another friend who had a ballistic knife, and he said that never one time did they ever shoot the blade at anybody.
Yeah, no, it's
but it looked, yeah, it was
it's-
so scary that they had that did the ATF make them illegal, or did they just ban them from import? They banned them from import.
I know some people. I mean, you find the videos on YouTube that actually have demonstrate those knives, so they are around. Spring-loaded thingy.
Oh yeah, back in the 80s, I knew someone who had
Yeah,
one.
let me show you what I was issued actually.
I bet Seth's got one, doesn't he?
Mm.
Too many things, my thingy gets caught on it.
My thingy.
Your thing gets caught on the thing.
There you go. All right, so this is the knife. It's called NR40. So again, reconnaissance knife. 40
like
means 1940. It was developed in 1940.
Okay.
So it's interesting knife. So
Constant
here's
knife.
the blade. Here's the wooden handle. It's but look at the S guard, right? And if you look at the S guard, it's not conducive holding the knife this way. It's conducive to holding a knife this way. So, and the reason for that is stab and then pull back, sort
Just
of like the bayonet.
Yeah.
And if you reverse hold it, then naturally, of course, you got the blade towards you, pulling back. And so they made a sign for this thing, like, as it was secret freaking weapon. And I'm talking 1985, wooden scabbard with the metal cap. That's a knife. Another one for some other guys that carry this, including some Navy. Same blade. But it's already got the straight guard on it, and it's got rubberized handle and a little cap right here to hit somebody in the head with. But this was called, it had a nickname, Cherry. And yeah, and most of them came with the green, bright green handles and the leather scabbard like this. But that's nothing but the fighting knife. And this knife is actually copied from a Swedish knife called, I want to say, Garlsberg blade.
Okay.
But it's also going back to like Pukko knives in Finland, and that's why it was always called a Finka, or like a Finnish knife.
Yeah.
And I have both of them. I have the actual, I think it's a Martini if I'm not mistaken, or Järvenpää or somebody, the Finnish knife here, and I have the actual NKVD Finka, which is knife was issued to NKVD troops during the war. And that thing is, and before the war. And that thing is, well, let me see if I can get it so
Okay,
you know what we're talking about.
Rich and Paul, tell us some things maybe about the American bayonets that's not well known to listeners.
Well, I think a few things, just like Paul already pointed out, that the M9 bayonet was replaced by the OKC 3S by the Corps. In the Marine Corps, I have a whole chapter in my book that is showing the development for the Marine Corps, because they love their bayonets. I mean, just historically, they're just, fantastic warriors. And it's just amazing that, I mean, I even heard of a few, a battle, and I'm not sure I'm pretty sure it was in Afghanistan when everybody ran out of ammo, and they actually did a small storm with bayonets. I don't know, Paul, if you knew that one, if you heard about that, but when I was doing research for my book back, I don't know, 8 years ago or so, I heard about some particular incident. I don't know if you heard about that.
I heard
Yeah, I'm
of
not
something
sure
like that.
about the one in Afghanistan, but something about the bayonets is, if people need to understand that we like to give ourselves this 21st century dressing. We're like, oh, we're modern and we have drones and we have this and that. That's great, but when it comes down to it, it's still a rock and stone world. And the human being that is wielding the tool is the same human being that was wielding it 100 years ago and 200 years ago and 300 years ago. It's the same brain. And it's a psychological tool. I can tell you this: when I was on the USS Forrestal and I was part of the Marine detachment, and one of the things, well, our primary purpose and mission on that ship was the security of nuclear weapons, the security for the storage, transportation, movement of nuclear weapons. And so we had to move around the ship's personnel constantly, right? We moved around the ship's personnel constantly, and they were very used to seeing us in full gear, helmets, flak jackets, rifles, shotguns, and it didn't really faze them, right? They didn't see us in with our rifles and shotguns and think, oh, we need to stay away from them. But there were certain times when we needed the ship's personnel to understand that they needed to stay away from us because we were doing important stuff. And when that time came, the captain issued us, well, we always had them, but we would fix bayonets. So when we were moving about and we were on post, we were standing there with a bayonet mounted rifle. And when they would walk by and notice that, the eyes, and they would give us a wide berth because, this is different. They don't usually have the sharp pointy things on the end of their rifles, and they do now. We should stay away from them. A good friend of mine is a retired SF, and he went down to Haiti in the the big earthquake deal. When the Haiti had the earthquake, and we sent all this money and things down there, and he was part of a unit that went down there, acting in the army, and he said that the natives, they would rush them, press against them, try and get to the food supplies, try and get to, and he said, and the officers finally figured out, tell the men to fix bayonets. And he said, as soon as we fix bayonets, they stop pressing against us. Because in their minds, they're like, oh, these guys probably won't shoot us. They're not allowed to shoot us, blah, blah, blah. But you put a sharp, pointy thing on the end of the rifle and you hold it out, and even an illiterate person knows, I don't want that to be poked into me. And they will give you a berth. They will stay back from you. And the spirit of the bayonet is to kill, kill, kill with cold blue steel. And that's always been the case. And it's like Marco said, the bullet is a fool, but the bayonet is a soldier. The bayonet has the spirit. And when you're training people to become fighters, you really don't train people to become fighters through mechanical movements. Like shooting a rifle is mechanical. Shooting a rifle well is mechanical, but that doesn't really translate a fighting spirit. The fighting spirit is translated through the steel. That's how you get people. That's why the Marine Corps, I believe, still does. When Comrade Barry, remember like 10 years ago when Comrade Barry came out and he goes, oh, we don't need that.
Bayonets.
We don't issue bayonets anymore. Blah, blah, blah. Right. It's like, shut up, Barry. You don't know what you're talking about. Yep. Go back to from whence you came. We still have bayonets, and we'd have them today. And Marty, that's why I designed the LNC rifle like I did, so that a bayonet would fit on it properly.
I mean, anybody who buys a rifle right now, like other than somebody that wants that extended the handguard and all that, they want a bayonet lug. That is considered to be non-neutered, non-castrated rifle, military rifle. And the thing is, I think the training with the bayonet is an essential part of military training.
Absolutely.
There's marching and formation, the cadences, the songs, you know, all that stuff. It's part of the being a soldier and the discipline. So
You remember your cadences?
for me?
Yeah, shout off a cadence for us.
No, we had yeah, of course it's the typical, you know, sort of like 1 1 1 2 3. It's like раз раз,
Go.
or like левый левый, you know, meaning the left, you know, meaning the left foot forward. And then, you know, but we had songs. We would go and do the songs, like you know, cadence type of songs. Not like a Ho Chi Minh, you son of a bitch, right? Or like a Eskimos, Lucy Very Cold, or whatever it is in the movies. But like something, you take a song that everybody knows and you march with it. And marching with the song, especially in the forced march and stuff, carrying all kinds of shit and stuff, it's a lot easier, believe it or not. I mean, they weren't stupid when they came up with it. What's it?
Model A Ford and a tank full of gas.
You know, but you know, it might be different, but it has the same roots. It grows from the same spot. You know, it's just different languages, different. And I remember, was it in 2005? I think the Americans were actually in the Red Square marching in Victory Parade, right? You guys don't remember that?
What are you
Yeah,
talking?
the Allies, like the French, Americans, British, and Polish troops actually marched in the Red Square during Victory Day Parade. I think it's 2005, if I'm not mistaken. They celebrated like
2010, World War
60.
Is it the U.S. troops marched through Red Square for the first time in a Victory Day parade on Sunday as Russia celebrated its 65th anniversary of the end of World War II? Is that what you're talking about?
Right. So they marched to a Russian marches, the music, right? And they didn't skip a step because it's very similar.
Yeah.
And both cadences and the steps and stuff come from Prussia. So the Russians copied back in the 18th century, copied the Prussian discipline. And then if you remember, during Revolutionary War, the army was trained by the Prussians.
Yes.
So
true.
It's very similar. Anyway, I was going to show you the blades again. So here's the Puko knife, right?
Okay.
And here's my fighting knife. And so NR40. Look how similar they are, right?
Yeah.
That's why they call them Finkas. And then that's Martini. And if you take a Sake Yaranpao,
What language?
Puko knife, and then you take NKVD Finka.
It's got the S guard.
Well, the guard, but you know, I mean, look at the blade.
A little, very, very similar.
I mean, it's almost exact copy. And Isaki Yaranpao actually had, when Finland was part of Russian Empire, he actually had a stamp he could use the crown stamp because he was approved supplier to the court. And look at this thing.
Do that at an angle. Yeah, it's got the sickle and hammer on it.
Yeah, it's NKVD.
And what is this one called?
It's an NKVD knife, like a Finka, that was issued to NKVD troops.
Nice.
Stabbing, man-killing knife. Or maybe you peel potatoes with it, I don't know. You can do things.
Skin a deer with it, so. Let's do this. You got anything else to add before we go to our listener questions?
I just wanted to touch on the fighting knives and how they were, you know, important to history as the substitute for bayonets. and like one being a good example, and it's probably one of the best all-around knives, even for, you know, if you're a hunter or survivalist or a prepper of some sort. Obviously, the United States Marine Corps Chaaarge knife.
Yeah.
But one thing I want to mention, though, a lot of people might not know. So this is actually probably like a Bowie blade. Wouldn't you agree, guys? Like a Bowie
Yeah,
knife?
similar.
So, you know, in Finnish knives, they have this dip right here, right? This part right here, up top from the spine. Obviously, it's now been sharpened, and it's kind of helps you to penetrate stuff if you're stabbing or something. But on Finnish knives, it was never sharpened. You know, it's designed to take the canteen off the fire with the knife. I was dumbfounded when I found out about it. So we already talked about a Mark III Navy fighting knife, right? Which I think is it's in the heavy side, but I think it's probably close to ideal fighting knife if I would imagine one, right? So the blade is very similar to the Russian bayonet, but the handle is oval handle and it's indexing really well. It's got the heavy cap on the back.
Hold it up.
I mean, all in all, I'm thinking that would probably make that it is a great fighting knife. And then again, it's got that stupid sew and stuff. I don't know what you can sew with it. I mean, you'll be killed 17 times before you cut through like 2-inch twig or something. But nevertheless, well, and that's about it. That's all I have in my.
Jeez, Marco, that was awesome.
Well, I'm sorry.
I say I love that. And Paul, thanks, man. Let's go for the questions. Let's see what folks have for us.
All right, so let me ask you this, Rich, and we hadn't talked about it beforehand. Do you want to give away a copy of your bayonet book to one of the listeners?
Absolutely. Yeah, no. And I'll get it autographed by CJ Buck.
Okay.
And yeah, I'd be happy to do that.
Okay. So there you go, Leadhead. So
Yeah.
that's
it took it was 5.5 years of research, and I had the proper nomenclature. I had a SF captain proofread it for me and go through everything, and also a Navy SEAL commander, because I have a whole section on combat utility knives. So yeah, I'd be happy to.
Yeah, and talk about a little bit about what inspired you to do this book.
Well, you know what? I ended up getting like 50 pounds, literally 50 pounds of documents from a guy named Harry Camphuisen, who worked specifically for Phrobis companies. And when I was doing my research on my Buckmaster book, the last 6 months, right before I was able to, last 6 months before I finished my book, I got all these awesome documents that Mr. Buck said, yeah, give them to Rich. That's cool. And I was so burned out, man. I had 4 little kids when I wrote my first book. It was back in 2011. And I was like, nah, I got 50 pounds of documents. Matter of fact, it's on the last page. I got 50 pounds of documents, and one day maybe I'll write the M9 Bayonet book. And I got inspired. And Commander Coulter, a SEAL Commander Tom Coulter, retired.
Been on the show.
He inspired me. And then Captain Michael Hawk, he's a SF, super amazing dude. He also inspired me, and his beret actually adorns the front cover of my second book. So yeah, pretty cool stuff.
That survival TV show.
Yeah, he did. It's called Man, Woman, and Wild.
Yeah.
And then he did that with his wife Ruth. And he's done
with the spot chick. That was.
Yeah, that was his wife.
Yeah.
And he's done all kinds of stuff on the History Channel as an expert, but he has a few awesome books too himself. But it's Michael Hawk, and it's spelled MYKELHAWKE. But he's awesome.
Yeah. So if you guys want to get the book, you can go to Amazon. Just pulled it up for our viewing audience, and just pull it up under Richard Neyman, Neyman. then that'll pull up both your books, I guess, that you have there, because you also did one on the history of the Buckmaster, which I have that here. It's a good book.
It looks like I'm going to be sending you two. one for the viewer and one for yourself, so you have it in your library.
For the bayonet? Well,
Yes, sir.
I won't argue with that. I appreciate that. All right, let's go to the listener questions now. First one is from FPS Murdoch. He says, is there a difference between an AK-47 bayonet and an AK-74 bayonet, and are they interchangeable?
Paul, you want to answer that one?
Well, we actually just went, you went through that about 30 minutes ago. So yeah, it's a, the great thing, and that's like the interesting thing about what we've done when we adopted the M16. We adopted the M16. They had to come up with a new bayonet because the World War II era bayonets, the M1 carbine bayonets, they wouldn't work with it. So they came up with the M7. Since the M7, the mounting hardware, the lug, the bayonet lug itself, and then the mounting hardware have remained constant for 60 years. Yeah. Whether it's the Marine Corps' OKC bayonet, or whether it's the M7, or whether it's the M9, the mounting hardware is identical. Mm-hmm. And so with the AKs, whether it's AKM, AK-74, AK-100, whatever, the mounting hardware, check me if I'm wrong, Marco, is identical. So you could have a 1972 bayonet, and it'll go on a rifle that was produced in 2018.
That is correct, but the question itself is not necessarily correct one. So because AK-47 had that bayonet that was sort of like a detachable SKS bayonet, right? Mm-hmm. So, and it did not have a bayonet lug, so it had to go and clip around the barrel. And so AK-47, of course, and it's a league of its own with the different or kind of its own with different bayonet. But AKM bayonets will mount on all the modern rifles. So is the AK-74 style bayonet would mount on AKM. The one thing to mention, so AK-74 and the 100 series had that booster / flash suppressor, I guess. It didn't suppress any flash, but anyway. And so they had to have two bayonet lugs, so to speak. And one of them is actually what they call the accessory lug, which you would clip under barrel grenade launcher, like GP25 or GP30. And so it would actually, the barrel ring go around the tip of that muzzle device and then clip into the first bayonet lug on the AK-74s and the 100 series. Yep. Whereas on the AKM, it would go around the muzzle and clip into its own bayonet lug. But yes, they're interchangeable between AKMs and AK-74s, not AK-47 though.
ESOM87, does anyone know if bayonets are being used in the Ukraine war, or when the last AK bayonet was used in conventional warfare? Are they even being issued with new AK rifles? And you answered that.
They are issued. I can't tell you when it was used last. There's like nothing but rumors out there referring to Chechen campaigns as well as Afghanistan. I myself never experienced that. And then Ukraine war, there's a lot of close combat, but I mean, you can see it on Telegram channel. I mean, I'm talking about close, like to the point where they stick in the muzzle of a gun into each other's belly, so to speak. But not once I see anyone using any kind of bayonet. But I think at that point you'll probably be better off with the knife in your hand.
T. Hayden 83. Here's a question slightly outside the box. While the episode has focus on the bayonet itself, is it possible that we are overlooking the manner in which it attaches? Could the bayonet lug introduced on the AKMs be the most useful evolution of the bayonet? What are your guys' thoughts on this? As always, love the show and wishing everyone well.
Can I? Oh, Richard, anyone?
No. I think you got it because it's basic mechanics.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Go ahead.
here's a Mauser attachment, right? So you got your little, you know, the track or kind of that slides over the bayonet log, and then it's, you know, spring loaded, and it fixes it.
Yeah.
Right, and then you got the button. You push the button to release it. Right. Where's my SVT-40? Okay, SVT-40 is the same way. Even this British one, that is like 100 years old or more. It's got to be more than that. Yeah, it is. It's 1918. Same thing. So you got your slot that goes over the bayonet log, and then you got the button to release it. Now, on the later versions of British bayonets, which is like the Mark, the Model 4s, Mark 1s and whatnot, there was more of like it's a twist-off type of deal, which had at the tip of the barrel, it had the logs to each of the touch. So here's a AKM bayonet, same thing. It slides over the log, and it's a spring-loaded button that releases it. And more of a modern one does the same thing. So I guess that's the prevalent way to attach it. Even the US, like let's say this is M1 Garand, although the button to release it is up front, but it still slides over the bayonet log, right? How it's supposed to be. And so they essentially, all of them are kind of similar, other than most of the Nagans, or like SKS with the folding bayonets, or the British newer, old rifle newer version of it. But they essentially use the bayonet as a rail, and then they lock it up with the spring-loaded mechanism, and then you have a button to. Oh yeah, the US is different. I mean, on the where's my M9 and M7 kind of got similar mechanisms, and that's the two side buttons that you squeeze.
Yeah, it's got and you know, that design is easily 60+ years old now.
Oh,
but
absolutely.
It's robust, and it works, and it's simple, and you know, that's what it needs to be. That's what it needs to be.
Yeah. And it's you know, it's but in the core of it is about the same.
Yeah.
I mean, meaning like it's a log, you slide it on, and then you latch it with the spring.
Okay. Corey Brown asked, or is he making a statement here? They are a great all-around tool for stabbing, slicing that bacon, emphasizing what you're pointing at, digging, and in a pinch, cut wire when you accidentally get barbed wire wrapped around your axle. LOL. Why is there more bayonets out there that incorporate a wire cutter? I think we just showed they all kind of do.
All the modern ones do. I'm pretty sure we don't have any of the European ones, like a German or British. I don't know. They probably follow suit.
Yeah, they have that too, I would think.
Yep, they do.
Raider
The
2
reason,
go ahead.
one of the biggest reasons that the wire cutters came about, a lot of people are like, oh, it's like the SEALs are cutting through chain link fences and stuff to sneak in. I'm like, man, I can't even imagine the amount of time it would take to cut a chain link fence. But one of the biggest things that will kill your field knife is comm wire.
Yeah.
Comm wire looks thin, but it's a mother lover, and it will destroy your blade. People try and cut through comm wire. You can cut through 550 cord all day long, but if you're with your field knife, you're not cutting through comm wire, and that's an important thing. I mean, because in the grunts have to deal with that all the time. You know, maybe some, maybe barbed wire, maybe a fence thing or something like that. But the biggest thing that while I was a grunt was cutting comm wire. And if you try and use your pocket knife to cut comm wire, you basically just destroyed your pocket knife.
Yeah.
People are like, comm wire? What is?
Google it. 9-3 Tactical, philosophy of use when it comes to your military training with the bayonet. Is it considered more of a utility tool or a close quarter combat shit it's the fan weapon throughout training, and how it was actually used in the field? So he's asking, when you were trained on it, were you trained more for stabby killy or utility purposes?
They don't train you to do utility stuff.
No.
You figure that out on your own.
Right.
Grunts just figure out how to make stuff work.
Yeah.
Grunts just figure out how to make stuff work. Yeah.
And then how was it actually used in the field with your experiences? How did you guys actually use yours?
Open up C rations.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I have
busting open crates, prying.
You know, the Russians had those tin cans, right? Those sealed, the ammo cans.
Yeah.
And it came with the little tool that you can use, and you gotta use it so many times to be really proficient with that thing. But anyone who did this is like probably screwed around with this a long time before you could open and bend the top off. With the bayonet, you could easily go through it a lot faster.
And time is of the essence when.
Yeah, something else I wanted to mention, guys, is, and I'm sure you've realized this, we went from a time where bayonets were not issued sharp. You know, if you wanted this to be sharp, when you got it, you had to take it, you had to grind it. These things are pretty much like butter knives when they're issued. And my experience with these, with the M7s, has been that it was a toss-up. You would get some that might, like this one, you can obviously see is sharp and it has a blade, but you would get some that you could run your finger right over and it was like a butter knife. With the new knives, the M9 and the OKCs, those come really seriously. They focus on the edge. Whereas the old school 50, 60 years Cold War bayonets, the manufacturers were not screwing around focusing with, they weren't honing the edge and cutting newspaper and stuff like that. They're like, make them and ship them, just go. And now like this M9 bayonet, this mother lover, this is an Ontario version. This mother lover is sharp. I mean, I could shave the hair off the back of my arm with it. Same thing with the Marine Corps one. So that is a big difference in the Cold War era manufacturing of bayonets and the modern manufacturing.
Yeah, for the M9, that was like an operational requirement to be able to cut so many pieces of line. So yeah, it had to be a particular thickness of line. It had to do 100 cuts without going dull. And every single knife that Buck made, over the 300,000 of them that were issued to the U.S. Army and Corps, long story short, they were tested every 100 knives to make sure that sharpness was there. So that's cool you hit on that.
And of course, when I was in service, they catch you doing this, trying to sharpen. First of all, the blade is a single edge, right? So single grind.
Yeah.
They catch you sharpening your bayonet. You just got yourself some demerits. But everybody did it anyway. When the warrant officer, the CO is not looking, you know, but,
Do you guys know, as far as metals go, how, as far as the bayonets did they use different metals at different times? And I'm sure it's improved obviously over the ages too.
Well, that's, you know, this, I'm pretty sure this is saltwater proof, is it not?
yes, it is. But
Marco,
it's also
this
very
is
brittle.
it's a corrosion proof, and whereas the US, they just use carbon steel. So the US is like, we're not gonna put any stainless carbon, just oil it and clean it. And then the Russians went the opposite direction. They're like, no, we're actually gonna put a stainless salt resistant type finish on it. And of course, when you hack it down and grind it, you're probably pulling some of that finish off there anyway. But
So not to correct you there,
but go
Paul,
ahead.
but on the M9 bayonet, it was stainless. So
Okay,
it was
so
stainless. It was 425 mod stainless steel. It was corrosion resistant, and they would occasionally coat it with black oxide
That's what
like
mine
this
is.
one.
coating. Yeah,
Yeah.
but that was indeed.
Well,
stainless.
I was talking more Cold War, but
Oh, sorry. Forgive me.
yeah,
Well,
I was, you know, the Cold War stuff.
That is, I mean, at one point they had this metal, and then they progressed to different metals. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
they-
these will rust.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Bad.
these will rust.
So with the AK bayonets, right? Of course, once you put the blue beret on and then you think you're this super duper commando, although you still got like a green grass growing out of your ass and stuff, and you show up, the first thing you want to do is start throwing knives, right? Especially this thing looks like a conducive to throwing knives. And you quickly find out, because you can't, okay, so you got to practice to learn how the knife flies and where to release it and stuff. So many times you would land it flat like this on the tree or whatever that you're trying to, plywood or something you're trying to stick with it. And there were cases where the blade snaps. It was that brittle. And so obviously you're in a world of shit after that. I mean, you'll be KPing for the rest of your service for destroying Mother Russia's property. And so you would do like maybe you find like old ones, which some of the infantry took it off some of the Afghanis, the ones with the rounded back. You have one of those, right, Paul?
Yeah, yeah.
Instead of the metal hammer back like that.
Yeah, the bake leg handles.
You'll find out real quick that up to 2 or 3 hits that a fiber-filled Bakelite will chip and break off.
Yeah.
And they immediately
don't throw your
your
Air Force survival knife either, because your Air Force survival knife will break.
I broke a tip.
Ask me how I know.
Yeah. And another thing is, like, one of the best throwing knives really is a AK-47 bayonet. You know, the one that
The old one.
yeah, that looks like a SKS blade.
Longer spear point deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
Let me ask this. This isn't one of our. This is my question too. You know, when we're talking about the metals, I'm assuming that these aren't full tang either. They're bayonets. Is there any bayonets that are full tang, or are they full tang?
Well, it's this is definitely not, because you got to have a mechanism, right?
Yeah.
Latching it. But I don't know how far it goes. I would assume that it's at least probably 2/3 of a tang is encompassed in there. I would assume that the newer one, the one, the AK-12, is actually full tang, and you got the thingy sticking out right here for window busting.
Glass breaker.
In 1993, Buck experimented with a full tang for the Marine Corps, and they actually developed a wonderful bayonet in 1996 for the Second Army submission that Buck actually won, and it was a full tang. The only thing is Buck didn't build it because they didn't know if it was going to be 500 or 100,000. And then Ontario kept on rolling with it. But that's the only full tang that I know that Buck ever made. And it was superior. It was amazing.
Okay. Well, I was curious about that. All right. Next question. Well, this isn't a question, it's a comment. Fun factoid from Nikolai Aplanap. Rumor has it an M16 M9 bayonet can fit a Saiga 12 if you have a lug attachment.
Yeah, I've seen people do that. There's some mods. You have to do a little mod, but it'll work. I've seen some guy up here in Idaho do it.
I'm sitting here and trying to process the Saiga 12 with the bayonet lug.
Well, we have a question down here. It says, from the Shaky Taster, can I damage the barrel of my Yugo by welding on a bayonet lug? I want
Don't answer.
Okay, I just a mechanical engineer will tell you right here that any welding, meaning basically melting the metal on both sides to a plasma condition and then merging it together, puts an immense amount of heat on both of the parts, right? And that would cause, and the barrels go through a process, the heat treatment process and stuff like that. So you would most definitely will do something to your gun, maybe not geometrically, but you could relax any kind of tempering that's been done, or you know, just turn it back into like a butter type steel and so on and so on. I would freaking not do it.
Yeah, no way.
But you know, better would be better.
If you have to have an AK with a mount, just buy one. Just buy this is the BFT 47, and it's got the mount. Just purchase it. Just don't don't screw
the original Yugo. But even though they just for import purposes, they probably don't import the Yugo guns with the bayonet logs on them. They're probably just making them without them. Yeah. But I would just like
the Romanians have them.
Yeah. They do?
Yeah.
My Wassers do.
They probably shaved on both sides to give it an appearance that it's not. I mean, by law, and I imported some, imported guns and ammunition. You're not supposed to.
Well, yeah, there's not a lot there. Anyway, when you look at the actual mounting, there's not a lot there. So.
But it would still latch, though, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've latched bayonets
they just got around the importation by shaving the sides off, but it would still latch.
All right, next question. B. Hurst. He's got a couple here. What else can fit Bayo lug instead of Bayo? Lights, rockets, or other? I've seen chainsaws.
On the AKs, it's mostly the underbarrel grenade launchers.
Ah, there you go. Yeah, underbarrel grenade launchers.
In fact, the second one on the AK-74 pattern rifle is specifically for that.
Flamethrowers, I've seen those.
Flamethrowers.
It's just custom stuff people.
Oh, yeah. Well.
Any problems with shooting with a bayonet on, unless if it's a plug?
No, it's gonna. I'll hit this one first, and then you guys can jump in. But yeah, Wiley Clapp once. You guys know who Wiley Clapp was, right? Wiley Clapp's still alive, but he was a Marine infantry. He was a Marine platoon leader in Vietnam. And he said, he goes, the best way to destroy the mark or the accuracy of a platoon is to issue the words "fix bayonets," because your barrel is, your barrel has a vibration, the gun knows what to do, and the barrel vibrates. And anytime, it's like if you laid your barrel on a fence or on a post or anything like that, your shots are going to be off because you screwed up the vibration of the barrel. Well, when you take a piece of the steel and now you hang this off of the end of the barrel, you are changing the vibration, the harmonics. You're changing the harmonics of that barrel. So yeah, you definitely is going to alter it. How much? It's going to depend on the gun. With this gun, I noticed this is the BFT 47. I noticed a shift at 25 yards, a big shift at 25 yards in the impact of the bullets, and it was consistent, but it was a big shift. It was like a huge shift, and like Marco said with the 9130s, that they would just put them on and zero them like that, because it's like screwing a suppressor onto your barrel. It's going to change the point of impact because you're changing the harmonics. But then you go to like, well, what are we, how close are we? Are we 25 yards away? Are we 100 yards away? Are we 1,000? If the enemy is 400 yards away, you probably don't need bayonets. But if they're 15 yards away, then go ahead and stick it on there and go to town.
Yep. Time to put the knife on.
There you go. All right. 2 more questions here, and then we'll pick a winner. Where'd it go? Okay. It's about green something. Oh, here we go. So FPS Murdoch, did the Soviet border guards have green Bakelite bayonets? I ask as I've seen pictures of the border guard green Bakelite mags and furniture, but never a bayonet.
If I had to guess, and I'm guessing here, and I'm applying logic,
Sure.
I'd say no. Those green guns that were issued to border guards, they didn't issue them across. They only issued to the best soldier based on some kind of competition. And it could have been like, let's say, detachment of, let's say a platoon detachment, what they call a zastava, right? And there would be one guy with that gun, and not in every platoon, let's say. Okay, so it has to be somebody who could have apprehended a person that crossed illegally, which in those times usually would be like a spy type of person. You know what I mean? And okay, you look at those magazines, right? And they obviously been painted.
Yeah.
And the furniture is obviously plastic. There was no green plastic furniture ever. It was always laminate wood that was painted a stained green and then lacquered, not plastic.
That looks like it's not been painted.
It's all painted.
All this stuff's painted?
Yeah, it's somebody tried to materialize their wet dream.
They're wet with the green Bakelite.
Though the green AKs now exist only in the museums.
Okay, so I was just trying to do a Google search, guys. All right. So we don't know is the bottom line for sure, but probably not, right?
Most likely not.
Yeah, most likely not.
Hey folks, this is former Navy SEAL Cade Courtley with your 4 Patriots Survival Minute. I'm going to show you 3 common things that can help you start a fire. First one, tortilla chips. All right, because they have a lot of oil in them, they actually totally work to help start a fire. Stack them up, and away you go. Number 2, hand sanitizer. It's got a high alcohol content. That's what does the sanitation. It also helps you start a fire. Three, steel wool. Now this is great. If you have steel wool and a 9-volt battery, preferably fine steel wool, spread it out so the air can get in there. Touch both poles of the 9-volt, and there you have it. Starting to amber already. So there you have it. tortilla chips, hand sanitizer, steel wool, and a 9-volt battery. And you have things that are going to help you start a fire. This is Kate Corley with your 4 Patriots Survival Minute. Be a survivor, not a statistic.
All right, last question. No Paul's get fidgety. Here we go. Mustang Perry. What in everyone's opinion is the best bayonet? Also, how many different ways can they be mounted? And we've talked about it different ways, but best bayonet. Marco.
The new AK-12, all around, great camp knife, fighting knife. My tongue doesn't want to even pronounce this, but bayonet, because you're not gonna charge any redoubts and stuff against the columns of Napoleonic army. But
can we call them bayo knives?
They are bayo knives. That's called
Bayonet knives.
They all called a shtik nож. Shtik means in Russian bayonet, nож means knife. So it's a bayonet knife. That's what they call it.
I thought I just coined that. Yeah. I'm going to trademark it anyway.
Just do it.
You're 70 years too late.
Oh, what's your favorite bayo?
Oh man, that is a, it's kind of like what's your favorite rifle?
Yeah.
There's a lot of good ones out there, and the truth of the matter is if I had, let's say, if I was a person who lived in a cul-de-sac community in the United States of America, of course I would have to do this 10, 15 years ago, and I wanted all my guys to be ready to repel borders when the zombies come from the city to take all our stuff. I would buy every single one of them a Nagant with bayonets. And I would put those guys out at the end of the cul-de-sac, because the homeboys, the creepy crawlies from the city, they'd be like, I don't think you shoot me, but I don't know, they might stab me. And the truth is, that rifle is, when you put a bayonet on it, it's as tall as I am, and it probably was taller than most soldiers it was issued to. So if you want to keep creepy crawlies at bay, and their blue steel, I would spray paint them silver. I would get chrome. I would get chrome paint and make them chrome.
So they gleam.
Gleam. Oh yeah. They look, so they stand out. So there's no question. Dude, people don't want to mess with sharp steel. They don't.
You can probably, because of the length of it and stuff, you can probably throw it like a freaking what they call them, pullums or whatever. The
pylum, yeah.
Spear.
Short spears and stuff.
Rich, what's your favorite bayonet?
For myself, it would be the 1993 full-tang USMC M9 that was developed here at Buck in the time in California, but it's just an amazing knife. It was just amazing. I can't say anything else. It's super strong.
Not surprised.
Super thick. Yeah.
Mine is the sword bayonet. That's what I want. I want the sword bayonet.
That's cool.
like this one right here.
Oh, like the actual sword bayonets back in the.
Like the trench.
Oh, the ones like what is it, Chauffour or whatever? The French ones, they have the little.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
These. Here, I'll tell you.
Yeah, that thing.
That one.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I forgot what that hook was for, but it was purposely done, because it's not just French, but Italians did it.
Is it for parrying?
It could be like breaking a sword or something, or
like hook the enemy's bayonet, parry it.
I think it was to hook them in the jaw and pull them off stage.
Marty going medieval on us.
That's right. That's right.
We were talking about this polite and civilized stabbing people in the gut, and you
I
had to bring.
want to go stab. I want to go and stab some hosses. All right. So of our questions there, we've got 3 things to give away. We're going to give away a Mission First Tactical big drinky drink. Probably, I don't know if it's going to be this design or what design it'll be. We'll get one of these for one of our listeners. And then, of course, Seal One and Done for all your gun cleaning and lube needs. You'll get a full kit with the Seal One.
Where do you keep it? On your bench and next to your nightstand?
Where
Both.
Both. I said, where do you keep that lube?
Oh, everywhere.
On your workbench or next to your nightstand?
It's so good, and it's orange, and it doesn't leave an orange stain. So you put that on your lips. Tap your lips up there. Put a little bit behind your ears. If you're going out on a date, you got you a Tinder date. Hell yeah. Smell good, baby. So Seal One and Done, and then of course Rich, who just disappeared. I don't know where he went. We're going to give away one of his Bayonet books. Yeah, I'm going to give away one of the books there. So there, he's back.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I had technical difficulty. Yep, I'll get an autograph book for somebody.
All right,
And
so
yourself. Thank you.
what? Let's go through for the book. Rich.
Let Rich pick his favorite question.
Yeah, what was your favorite question out of those?
I am so sorry. I had technical difficulty. I didn't hear the questions.
I read all when we just went through all the questions.
No, I know. I had to hang up and get back in, and I missed it when you were doing that. It took me about 45 seconds.
The questions that we just read, all those questions.
I missed
About
them.
our favorite bayonets and stuff like that.
I just heard. That's all I heard was favorite. Oh, I
No,
don't know.
is there a difference?
All the questions.
AK-47. What is everyone's opinion of the best bayonet? Any ideas on why the AK bayonet strayed from the spear point design? Fun factoid rumor has it. All right, pick a number between
1 and 15.
I'm so sorry. Okay, 13. 13.
You would pick 13.
Yeah. What's the?
T. Hayden 83. At the time of this recording and all the questions that we have, and in the order that I've got them on my phone, T. Hayden 83 is number 13. So
Well, congratulations.
T. Hayden 83.
Absolutely.
Congratulations. You have won. Hold your book up again there, Rich.
Yes, sir.
Mind. The M9 Bayonet, the Authorized History by Richard Neyman.
Yeah.
You're going to get that. And it's going to be
We'll get it
autographed.
signed. Yep, we'll get it signed.
Rich and CJ.
Yes, sir.
That's an honor. So email me, T. Hayden, and let me know what you won, and we'll need your address. All right. So for the Mission First Tactical Drinky Drink, Marco, what was your favorite question?
I'm gonna go with the although it wasn't correct question, but nevertheless the good one. When he I forgot the gentleman's name. It's very first question. It said,
Yeah.
Can are they interchangeable bayonets between AK-47 and AK-74?
FPS Murdoch. So FPS, you know the drill. Email me. Let me know what you won. And then for the Seal One and Done CLP Plus complete gun cleaning and lube and Tinder date fragrance kit. Paul, pick the.
So was it Murdoch who asked the thing about does fixing a bayonet affect the bullet, affect the shooting of the rifle?
No, that was
It was a different person.
B. Hurst 87. Any problems with shooting with a Bayo on?
Yeah. That I think that's a valid question, and it's something that a lot of people don't think about.
Yeah, very good. So B. Hurst, I think my question was the best when I was asking about the metal and the tangs, but
You're not eligible.
Oh, I was gonna. You get the water bottle.
I get the water bottle. Luckily, I got it. So yeah. All right, all you winners, email me. Let me know what you won and your addresses, and we'll get you the prize. And Marco's got a new hat, West Coast Foam and what?
And fiber. Foam and fiber.
We don't shoot blanks. Where do you get all these trucker hats at? You stopping
I
at
also have like quickies, 1 hour photo in the Redondo Beach.
Bucky's? Y'all been to
Quickies.
Quickies? Is that what it's called? Quickies?
It's innuendo. Then I got a waxer, the board shop.
Yeah, I held that one up.
It's a Hollister company that they have these things. Yeah.
So you got a Bravo Company hat you're wearing today, sporting the Bravo Company. I've got my Factory 47 black multicam logoed hat on. If you guys want to get the AK, and I got my Factory 47 AK t-shirt. If you want to get our AK Corner logoed, and Marco's got the Factory 47 Calumet High Wolverines Class of 84 shirt, classic. Get any of these items and more, Factory 47, go to Factory 47 with a K, FAKTORY 47.com. Use the code LEADHEAD to get 10% off. And then if you want to, you didn't win the Seal 1, you want to get the Seal 1, go to seal1.com, use the code LEADHEAD, get 25% off. And they've got a really nice rod cleaning system that they just put out this year. One of the best.
Cleaning rod system?
Cleaning rod system. Yeah.
Not a rod
Not
cleaning
any
system?
kind of other rod.
Cleaning rod system. Rod cleaning system.
A cleaning rod system, not a rod
How
cleaning
you
system.
use it is up to you, Paul. But
So I have a funny story about this shirt, though. I'm
wait a
wearing.
minute, get the code. Go LEADHEAD 25% off seal1.com. Go ahead.
I have a funny story about this T-shirt, right? Obviously, it's a reference to Red Dawn, right?
Yeah, the Calumet High.
Right. So the guy I'm checking out, and he's the cashier, and he looks like my age. He's looking at it. He goes, "It's cool that they still doing this," and I'm like, "Doing what?" He says, "Well, you went to your class reunion, right?" And I was like, it's like fake, right? It's a Hollywood, it's a movie reference.
Yeah, only cool
It's like,
people.
I thought you went to Calumet High School, which we have one apparently in Michigan, in Western.
Calumet.
And because I'm in Ann Arbor, the Wolverines is,
Yeah.
natural.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. See,
Wolverines.
there you go.
So, listeners, I'm holding up
It's an ill-tempered badger.
short run U.S. Palm mags that we did with the graffiti Red Dawn Wolverine. We did an actual Calumet High like he's got on his shirt magazine, and then we did an AK Corner. We're gonna do another run of some sort of cool design. We're not gonna do those designs, but we'll do some new ones. So stay tuned.
You know what you should do?
Tell me.
Company 9 or Ninth Company design. Remember that movie? Did you see that movie?
The boys from Company 9. No. Which
No,
one's that?
That's it's sort of like similar to We Were Soldiers, right? When they sitting there on the top of the hill. It's in Afghanistan during the Soviet war, the Afghan war. And they were in charge of, there was a company, it actually was like a platoon size detachment. It was not even 20 people.
Yeah.
Up in the hill, and they overseeing this highway that they're supposed to provide security for, and then being attacked by over 300 Mujahideens. And it's kind of like the last man standing type of deal. Oh, you should watch that movie. It's on Netflix. Even on YouTube, it's all subtitled.
What's it called again?
Ninth Company.
Ninth Company. Okay, I'll watch that tonight because I got nothing else to do tonight. So, Leadheads, shoot me your ideas on the next run of mags. What you want, what you'd like to have on the AK mag that we do next. The most votes is probably what we're going to do. And then of course, Mission First Tactical. Go to Mission First Tactical. Use the code LEADHEAD. Get 20% off any of their products that they've got there, their drinky drinks, their holsters, their AR accessories and furniture that they have, and they've got some cool T-shirts and swag and stuff there too. Go show them the love. Let them know how much you appreciate sponsoring our show. I'll spit it out in a minute.
All right, I got grandbabies inbound.
I
love you guys, but you're not as cool as my
Sing
grandbabies.
All right, Paul.
Ruthie to me.
It's always nice to see
Stay
you.
safe, man.
Good-
Stay
good to
safe.
see you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Give
nice
Ruthie
meeting
a kiss
you,
for me.
and
Paul.
I will.
knowledge about M9 and
You can actually FaceTime me if you want to with her.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you,
all
Markel.
right, Marco, thank you so much. I appreciate all your knowledge again. You were, again, surprisingly overly knowledgeable about about all this.
you know, if I could like do the data dump and then like reboot my system, because a friend of mine said he was like pondering, he was sitting there and pondering, and he goes, you know what? I realize how much useless shit I actually know.
I don't
mean,
think it's just useless though. It's very entertaining and it's interesting. It's intriguing. The stuff.
Well, I'm glad I could oblige, but you like I said, so much crap I know, and
Yeah.
it's sort of like it's not I mean, bayonets. It's not enough to write a book, so to speak. So that doesn't make me specialist.
Rich wrote a book on.
Hey, listen, I disagree with all the knowledge you have on the Russian bayonets. You definitely should. It'd just be cool, just historical wise, you know.
Bayonets in general, not just the Russian. Yeah. So.
I mean, when I first started collecting, right, and I kind of went from like the modern stuff, and well, first I went with the stuff that was issued to me. I just wanted to have my kit, everything from uniforms to shoes, everything. And then it went on to like a modern stuff. Like I started getting into ARs and all this modern long range rifles and things like this. But it was always my and then I kind of went into historic thing because my family's been affected by World War II like you would not believe. I mean, 12 members in my family, including both of my fathers, their brothers, all went to war. And only one of them came back. Out of 12 people, only one came back, which was like a cousin. So I figured it was such a big deal. So I started doing the World War II. But you can't do World War II without American guns, right? Like M1 Garands, M1 carbine, even 1903, A3, for example. And then if you do that, then you got to do the British, right? Yeah. And as much as I freaking hated Nazi shit, you cannot have a appreciation of a firearms fully without a K98 or Mauser per se.
Yeah.
So, and my thing was always, once you get the firearm, you got to get everything else to go with it: the sling, the freaking the ammo pouches, the bayonet, and so on and so on.
Black hole, it never ends.
I know it, and I was telling you. I mean, like last time you and I talked, and I don't consider myself a knife guy, but if I had to guess how many knives I have, in my carrying it in the pockets and somewhere in the pouches and stuff. If I say 200, it probably wouldn't be far off.
Yeah.
But I don't particularly buy them per se. Like I buy certain things for collection, but I have like a strange number of freaking Scandinavian knives because my father always told me, look, the best knife is Sami knife or Lap knife or, like one of those Pukos and Lapin Lyokus and things like that. So I have a good number of them. Then as a proxy, wind up with all kinds of Mora knives and then all kinds of folders and this and this. And my son, my older son, he's not helping. He keeps giving me this like right. He keeps giving me this like special edition of Benchmades for some reason lately. The little scabbard that made out of shark skin.
Well, probably because you said one time you liked one and then
no. But I always kind of like kind of gave them knives when I had extras and stuff. They always, both my sons, but always have knives.
We're doing a knife segment now, so we'll get you on and we'll do a knife. We'll get you on for the knife segment.
Yeah, I have some weird ones, like some not weird, but let's say uncommon knives.
Yeah, you showed me some of them a couple of months back. So
Yeah, like a Yakut knife with that dole, one big dole on one side, but it's sharp as a bastard. And it's like you start bleeding by just looking at it.
yeah.
And then the same thing with bayonets and stuff. And one knife that I really bought.
We'll talk about this. So let me do the episode. Right. So Rich, thank you for taking the time to be on. Really appreciate you bringing the knowledge of the M9 and being generous with our listeners with the gift there too. So thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to having you and Commander on where we're going to talk about the new Buckmaster 2.0, the combat diver knife. Where'd mine go? Here it is.
Can I ask a question? The knife on that front page right there, it's got those two spikes on it. What are those?
That's an anchoring system.
You can reverse them too, right?
Yeah. Yep. There. So it's an actual anchoring system. You tie a line to it. You can actually anchor on the Lefty showing the new one. The new one has an anchor wing that goes through the middle, and it holds 400 plus pounds, and these only held 250. The idea was to just lock gear down, so the SEALs were good at going in, and when they came back, sometimes their ways to get out wasn't there. So what they did is they sometimes hooked boats up in different things and submerged it and used it as an anchor and used that to hook onto coral. So that was, that was just a little tool. But this knife led to the M9 bayonet. And see the handle?
Oh yeah, the round handle we talked about.
Yeah.
I have to say, Richard, after talking to you and listening to what you have to say, I have better appreciation of M9.
Oh, Marco, I'll get you one of my books too.
Oh, great. Thanks, man.
I started off at a church camp, an Orthodox church camp. My father was a Russian Orthodox priest for 55 years.
Get out.
No?
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. What a small world.
Yes,
Are you still a church goer? Or?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, we have a nice little church here called St. Vladimir's.
Nice.
Here in Ann Arbor. And not the current priest, but one before him was a hockey player from Michigan, University of Michigan.
That's awesome.
Marcus, what's next month's AK Corner?
All right, so what have we covered? We covered all right, let's do machine guns. How's that? Like not necessarily select fire guns, but like the machine guns, the light machine guns, like RPKs and PKMs and that kind of stuff.
Okay, we'll do that. That sounds good. I like that. And then December, we're going to do the AK versus AR episode.
I don't know if I will survive that long and probably
till December. You might survive.
But
it's a fun episode. We have a good time on that. So until then, till next month, lead heads, be boning up on your light machine guns.
Okay. Thank you.
And send in your topic suggestions for next year because it's getting time for next year. So, until then, out.
All right, out here. Thank you.
Super. Bye, Richard.
Bye, sir.
All right.
Appreciate it, fellas.
Small.
Я подписываюсь, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.